Okay, good morning or good afternoon, whenever you may be listening to this. My name is Dr. Nelson Garias. I'm your professor for MED160. You will be having a midterm tomorrow. And I just wanted to put a little reviewer, kind of like what we did in the last class. And if you look at your syllabus, everything that that will be on the exam tomorrow, which is it's a practical examination, but also there are also questions on it. It'll be most likely 50 to 60 multiple choice items, and it's based on this program called NDC Medisoft, which we're doing. Now, if you see this screen page right here, this is McGraw-Hill's Connect. That's the only way you should be getting into your textbook. And if you're not getting into it that way, let me see, a lot of pop-ups. Then I don't know what you've been doing for the last 4 weeks, or just maybe relying on just coming to class. But coming to class is really important. And if you came to class, you definitely saw all of this stuff before. The course is MED160, 5DAX, Medical Computer Applications, Computers in the Medical Office. So I click on this 5DAX, right, and it'll bring me into the class. And then you're going to see some videos and stuff like that, kind of that mock what we did in class. But clicking on the textbook, the first thing we did was week 1, they had that, we had no school. So we had online things that we had to do, and that had a whole bunch of stuff from these first chapters, which was chapters 1 and 2. Now, Introduction to Health Information Technology and Medical Billing. Those of you who had MED130 already, then you should already know all of that item. So, but even if you didn't have MED130, let me just go over real quick. Now, you see all these words here in bold. The High-Tech Act. Let's zoom in on it. Okay, High-Tech Act, and all these other things. What health information technology is, what anything that there's a bold, meaningful use, electronic health record versus electronic medical record, the Affordable Care Act, all of these things, and right off the bat, they are part and parcel of, if you see these sections here on the side, each one of these little boxes is an objective. So think about it. If you looked at our first quiz, these are things that I kind of asked already. And it's not rocket science to know that it goes that if it's part of an objective and it's bolded, it's something important. Now, I didn't talk about bundle payments or different types of payments. So more of the stuff that we talked about is more on the first end, the changing healthcare landscape. And it has basic definitions. Okay? So that was what? The changing healthcare. Then 1.2, what are the functions of the practice? Right here, let me just adjust the camera a little bit. Right here at the very tippy top. That's really nice and important. Okay? Here, right at the top. Okay? 1.2, was that a question? You see a pattern here? I take the objectives, I make questions out of them. So, what was the what is the function and the management of a PMP, also known as a practice management program? NDC Medisoft is built specifically for training. So, what things that the NDC Medisoft can do? Can it verify insurance? Yes. Can it organize patient and payer information? Yes. Can it generate and transmitting insurance data claims? Yes. Doesn't this look like a beautiful all of the above question? Doesn't this look like also a modified true or false question? These are the things that you have to start thinking about. Well, I hope you've been thinking about for quite some time. Another thing that I do, and you guys know, let me pan back a little bit. You see here, let's drop the camera a little bit, and focus in. I could do a screenshot and ask you, what do these things mean? Okay? And we'll be showing you on specific screenshots. The function of electronic health records. That too is also important. And as you can see here, there's a list. Okay? Pan up a little bit. I should just maybe just hand hold this thing from now on. Make our life a little bit easier. But I need my hands to work the mouse and whatnot. But you can see here, functions of an electronic health record. You know the difference between an electronic health record and an electronic medical record. Electronic health record is comprehensive. It can mean anything and everything underneath the sun. Another big thing, and it's right here. Let me pan back. Another big thing that we had is this. This is the medical documentation and billing cycle. I also have another picture of it, a simplified version of it, which is like the middle center ring. That's on your Moodle. Okay, and of course you got the words. Okay, now this follows everything that has to be done in a medical office. Okay, all right, and we had that lecture as well. You know the different kinds of forms. Here's the typical patient information form. Okay, you need to know the different kinds of forms, and we're going to go over those in a bit. Okay, and that's just billing stuff we didn't talk about. Now HIPAA, the only thing you really need to know about HIPAA is it is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. You've already had that in several classes, and it's supposed to protect your patient. Protect your patient from what? The information can only go to the right people. And remember, you only touch the information for 3 things. 1, if you need it for clinical. 2, if you need it for billing. 3, if you need it for logistics, meaning to say is you're trying to organize your office. Another thing that we also mentioned right here, let me see if I can do that. Right there, right here, electronic data interchange. And this is a really neat thing about this. It's called a smart book. Your online books, like when you have something bolded like that, when you put your cursor on it, it automatically gives you a definition. And the definition is the exchange of routine business transactions from one computer to another. That's EDI. Now the really important part of electronic data interchange is EDI could be money. Okay? That's really important. In the same way, you know how your check, most people don't get checks anymore where you have to go cash it and whatnot. A lot of places now do, you know, you get pay stubs in your email and things like that, but the money goes directly to your bank, especially if you have direct deposit. Well, EDI in the medical office, we have EDI setups with certain banks and certain money transactions, so it goes directly into our account. Now, part and parcel of the front desk and your chief financial officer, whoever that may be, is to make sure all the money is accounted for. Okay? Now, every chapter, let me pan back. Every chapter that you'll be responsible for, and I believe we're going through chapter 1 through 5, you don't need to ask me for notes or anything like that. At the chapter summaries in the back. And it's exactly how I design questions. I look at a summary, then I ask myself, okay, what's important, and how could I write that in multiple choice format? Okay? Now that's chapter 1. Let's now go to chapter 2. Table of contents, chapter 2. Now it's the introduction to Medisoft. Okay? Right, again, I'm going to pan here on the sides. What are the databases? These are the main provider databases. Patient data, insurance carriers, diagnosis code. Now, database is any collection of related information, so you can get to your information quicker. For example, I don't go into patient data when I want a doctor's UPIN number. If I want a doctor's UPIN number, I'm going to have to go into provider data. If I want the patient's social security number, I have to go into patient's data. Of course, insurance carriers, diagnosis codes, and also codes. And of course, last but not least, what's really, really important, transactions. Where did the money go? Okay? Here's another thing that's really important, all these buttons. Now let's show you with respect to all of this stuff in the actual program. Now if you go here on the side, the actual program can be started about if you click on, and this is only in Computer Lab 3 and at this terminal here if you want to practice on the 4th floor. So NDC Medisoft, it says blue icon right here, and then you also have office hours, which is chapter 3, is what we went over last week. regarding scheduling. Okay, and I also put scheduling notes and other items there. Now, we talked about different kinds of forms. Let me bring up patient information. Here's a classic patient information form. We already saw that. Now we also have another form you really need to know is this. This is your, let me get this higher a little bit. This is your encounter form. Encounter forms are all relatively the same. Has some patient information and has some payment information here at the bottom. But the neat thing about it is it has office visits, and then all the different types of visits, and it's X'd out. And then there's procedures, anything that we did to you, laboratories. It's kind of like a menu of what we did to you. It also has here on the bottom, which doctor did you see? Sometimes it's also on the top. Also has diagnoses and whether you paid, if you gave a check, if you gave cash, or if you have an outstanding balance, and any other notes or any other things. So the encounter form, and also there's a form there, some notes that I displayed on the board of the different kinds of forms and what pages are you thinking of. Okay? And last but not least, the other is doctor's notes. If you look at it here, right, you can see the doctor's notes, and it has the chief complaint, whatnot, what's the case about, so on and so forth. Okay? Again, patient number, and really important, just like the encounter form, it also has date of service and what case, which is most likely the chief complaint. For example, in this case it was Hiro Tanaka, and the case was back pain. That is not her, that may or may not be her diagnosis, but it is the chief complaint. She was complaining of back pain. Okay? So let's go now into how we can review and how to open. Of course, you open it by double clicking on the icon, and every time I talk about icon, I'm talking about the little pictures, also known as a graphical user interface, or GUI. Okay, I can also go in here in the Microsoft button, and then I could find it within the tools or within all programs here, and then you find it says Medicine. Either way, I double click on it and it opens up the program. Now the program is a mock program, it's not real. It has only a fraction of the capabilities and volume that a typical PMP has. PMPs that are way more expensive. So I open it and I maximize it. Let me see if I can try to pan back a little bit. And if I look at the top, you know what? I'm going to take this camera off and I am going to use it by hand. So excuse the shaky cam, but I need for you to see certain things. Okay, so see these things at the top? Those pictures, those are the icons. And if you look at it, the words on the words above it. And again, excuse the shaky cam. The words, right? If I want to go into activity, I click on it, and then there'll be a whole bunch of drop-down menus. Okay, and of course lists. Know which one to list, knows the activities, but the main activity that we talked about in the last 3 weeks was enter transactions page. Know this page. Now notice I clicked on this enter transactions right here. Okay, now what can you see in an enter transactions box? Let's look at one. So if you look at an enter transactions back, right, if you look at it, there's two sections. I'll make it more even. There's two sections. Sections well, actually three. The section here on the top, if you can look there, of course, you can go into the patient's chart. Okay, get your patient, and of course your patient. Let's bring up somebody. We brought up Susan Arlen. So when you bring up Susan Arlen, there's all this information about her. Then you got her case, how much money she paid. So be capable of, if I take a screenshot of this, or I ask you to look up Susan Arlen, and I can give you a multiple choice question. Did Susan Arlen pay anything? And you go, yes, $20. What did she pay? When did she pay? September 3rd, 2018. Ugh, shaky cam, so bad. Right, I'm trying to stabilize it. You can also check what? Procedure. What procedure? 99212. You click on that, and then you could tell what the procedure is. Also, what's the diagnosis code? Click on that. Click right on J20.4, and then it'll tell you exactly what it is. Okay, what else I could ask you? What balance does she have? Now remember, negative numbers in the medical and the accounting world is happy. That means the patient paid. Her current balance for this particular, for all her totals is $34. And that, if I pan back here, that is on the right part of the top, very top part. Then you have the middle part, and that's all the charges. That's what we did. And on the bottom part, that's where you have all the payments. See here, she had an original charge of $54, but she did what? Copay. Don't know what that payment and adjustment is. EAPCPAY on it, and it'll tell you what it is. Like for example, right now, I'll click on it. Drop down, and what does it say? East Ohio PPO copayment. Okay, who paid? She paid herself, and she is the guarantor. Know the difference between guarantor. What doctor saw her? I don't know. Let me click on it. Drop down. Number 5 is Dr. Robert Beach. Also, she paid $20. And if there's nothing said there on what she paid, and remember, negative numbers are happy numbers to us, then what? Then we know that it's most probably cash. But me, personally, I write here in description and I write cash. Okay? Now, that's definitely one page you need to know. Okay, it's Dr. Grice again. And, okay, I'm trying to get this in focus. Okay, another thing you need to know from the weeks that we've been doing is lists. You see all these lists? You know, you should be able to run down them and be able to extract information from it. So patient guarantors and cases, information about patient cases. Another one, popular one we always did in class was procedure payment and adjustment codes. Right? Procedure codes are CPT codes. CPT codes are 5-digit numeric codes. And remember, the E and M, or evaluation and management, or office visits, start with the numbers 99 and then something, something, something. Diagnosis codes, they have both ICD-9 and ICD-10. 9 times out of 10, I will ask you ICD-10 codes because that is the current standard. If I have any information on insurance information, not necessarily insurance information, but general information, let's say, for example, you hit this insurance list when I want to know stuff about what's the customer service phone number or the customer service email for Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's what's in that part. EDI receivers, we just talked about EDI, electronic data interchange. Who sends us money, or where do we send the money or payments or insurance claims to? Referring providers. Now, referring providers aren't our doctors. Remember, providers are the doctors. Referring providers is the doctors who give us patients. Okay, that's really good. Facilities. What facilities are we affiliated with? And providers, those are the doctors within our office. This particular office has, I believe, 6 physicians, right? So I could ask you, is Dr. Yan one of our doctors? And you can hit up lists, and then you can hit up here, provider, and then you get that. Then common billing codes, contact lists. Now, also we got addresses here. We also have addresses, let's say vendors that we do business with, and so on and so forth. So we have our own Rolodex. Okay, so there's other people other than insurance companies, people. Alrighty, so we didn't go over reports or anything, but those are the 2 main things that we went over. Now, that's half of your exam. Half of your exam talks about how to extract information, or how to take information out of this program. The second half is how to put things in. And the things that we put in, there's 2 sections that we put stuff in. Okay, and I'm going to talk about one in a moment. Let's talk about lists. Let's say we want to put in a new patient. So I put patients, and remember, your patients are on the left and their cases are on the right. As a quick review, let's look at Susan Arlen, right? She's highlighted in blue, and her case is bronchitis. Okay, now if I switch to somebody else, let's see somebody else. I'm trying to be ambidextrous here. Whoopsies. Hold on. Again. Why can't I? Alright. I am free. So, I click on Medisoft. Again, you have cases here, so let's pick on somebody else. Let's pick on Herbert Bell. So I look, Herbert Bell is now in blue, right? Let me pan back so you look at the bigger picture. Okay, then we see what? He has swollen glands and annual exam. So depending on what I may ask, right? And then of course you click on these things. Let's click on the annual exam. I double click and a whole bunch of tabs. So be able to put things in, and it goes on and know what each textbook, it has all the tabs in it. Okay, now this is how I would do it on a practical situation. May or may not be on tomorrow's situation, but I could tell you, you got 5 minutes. You put in put in the following information based on the patient information sheet. Okay, so let me cancel that out. Okay. Now I want to put new and updated information. I click right on his name and I get to these pages like this, and they have these tabs: name and address, other information, and payment plan. Now, name and address, that's your typical tab, you know, it has, and date of birth, social security number. So I could ask for you to update it. I'll just tell you, update Herbert Bell's address. He doesn't live on 727 Willow Lane anymore in Stevenson. He lives in where? Dayton, at this address. So I'll ask you to do that, so you should better be able to go and find Herbert Bell and then change it. And then of course make sure, let me pan back a little bit, make sure, see that on the right here, make sure to hit that save. Okay, now let's look at some other stuff. Okay, let's look at the tabs again. Name, address, other information. I click on other information. What's there that's of importance? Patient. Is he a patient or is he a guarantor? Look at that, assigned provider. That's one of us, Dr. John Rudner. You could also see that he has the which insurance, different billing codes, and patient ID numbers. So the patient ID number and the ID number 2 is usually the group number, or they'll even say group. You can change this, right? Now we usually deal with, look at the 2 tabs, name and other information. Unlike the tabs of the cases that we saw earlier, we see here, and the tabs here on the right side of this icon regarding patient list of patients and guarantors, that's when it brings up all those others. And let me do that. Let's pick on his swollen glands. I double click on it and see all these. Personal, account, diagnosis. So personal, all the description of why he came in, right? Chief complaint, so on and so forth. Account, anything to do with his money. Diagnosis, what diagnosis did the doctor give? Policy 1, 9 times out of 10, they're all one insurance simple. But in real life, someone could have more than. Okay, so these are some things that you fill out, and that is in the case tab. So let me close that part out. Cancel that. Okay, so pretty much that's the majority. And last but not least, I'm not going to end the program. I got to look at other stuff first. Let me minimize this. And now let's look on the icons and this purple one, professional hours. I'm going to click on that. And this thing is going to come up. Pan back. Give it a minute. Or maybe I should go in and, oh, there it is. And it's this one. What do you need to know about this one? Need to know how to use that date thing. Need to know how to put in appointments. Need to know what kind of appointments, okay? Because if you see from the icons here, let me pan back a little bit. See from the icons on the top, there's different kinds of appointments. You could have a break. It could be a doctor's appointment. Another doctor visiting you for consultation. It could be it could be patients. It could be in inter-office meetings. Okay, so know how to do that. Know how to also read the little things that say if it was confirmed or not confirmed. Okay, and also I also have notes in there as well regarding the different types of scheduling. Okay, you don't have to read that entire set of notes, but there's like 3 or 4 paragraphs and that's not from another textbook, but it looks just like our textbook if you have the medical assisting textbook. Okay? That's all I can think of right now. I hope you guys are studying, and I hope this is a nice addenda to your reviewer, but this is just something I thought about over the weekend, and that could be also helpful. And remember, we're going to keep on practicing the skill sets and then adding a couple of more skill sets in the weeks to come. Because right now you're having a midterm, and in a quick short month, by week 9, you have your final and your final practical. Okay? Alrighty. Good luck, guys. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Exam starts at 9:30 a.m. Make sure to also speed up your typing tests, because that is also part and parcel of this program, or this course. Okay? This is Dr. Grias signing off.